Welcome back to ChronoGlobe. In our last video, we explored the incredible history and culture of Cuba, from its indigenous roots to revolutions and rhythms. But today we're shifting gears. We're going to wander through Cuba's cities, marvel at its natural beauty, and uncover some quirky, unforgettable facts about this Caribbean island. Cuba isn't just history. It's alive with color, music, and landscapes that feel almost unreal. Cuba is the largest island in the Caribbean, stretching over 1,200 kilometers. Imagine an island shaped like a crocodile resting in turquoise seas. That's why locals often call it El Cocodrilo. Its location has always made it a crossroads between North America, Latin America, and Europe. The island is blessed with stunning beaches. Think endless white sands, swaying palms, and crystal-clear waters. Varadero Beach, for example, is often ranked among the best in the world. But Cuba's beauty goes far beyond beaches. There are lush valleys like Viñales, where tobacco farms grow the leaves for those legendary Cuban cigars, surrounded by dramatic limestone cliffs called mogotes. It looks like something out of a painting. Then there's the wild side of Cuba. The Zapata Swamp is one of the largest wetlands in the Caribbean, home to flamingos, crocodiles, and the rare Cuban crocodile found nowhere else on Earth. Off the coast lies the Jardins de la Reina, the Gardens of the Queen, a protected marine paradise filled with coral reefs, sharks, and untouched waters that divers call one of the last pristine underwater Edens. And who could forget the mountains? The Sierra Maestra Range in the east is not only beautiful but historic, since it's where Fidel Castro and Che Guevara once hid during the revolution. Today, hikers climb its peaks for breathtaking views, often retracing trails once used by guerrilla fighters. Now let's step into the heart of Cuban life, its cities. Havana, the capital, is like no other city in the world. Walk through old Havana and it's like time traveling. Colonial buildings with pastel-colored facades line narrow cobblestone streets. Vintage American cars from the 1950s rumble past, polished in bright pinks and blues. The Malecón, Havana's seawall, stretches for kilometers, where locals gather at sunset to play music, fish, or just watch the waves crash. At night, the city comes alive with salsa clubs, rooftop bars, and street performers filling the air with rhythm. Travel east, and you'll find Santiago de Cuba, often called the cradle of Cuban music. This is where Afro-Cuban culture shines brightest, and where genres like son, bolero, and salsa have deep roots. The annual Carnival of Santiago de Cuba is one of the most vibrant festivals in the Caribbean, with parades, drums, and costumes filling the streets in an explosion of energy. Trinidad is another gem, a perfectly preserved colonial town and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Walking its cobbled streets feels like stepping into a postcard from the 1800s. Colorful houses, horse-drawn carts, and lively plazas make it one of the most photographed places in Cuba. Not far away is the Valley of the Sugar Mills, a reminder of the island's once booming sugar industry. Then there's Cienfuegos, nicknamed the Pearl of the South, with French-inspired architecture, and Camagüey, known for its maze-like streets built to confuse pirates. Every city has its own flavor, its own rhythm, its own way of showing Cuba's diversity. But let's talk about some fun, quirky facts that make Cuba stand out. Did you know Cuba has two currencies? For many years, locals used the Cuban peso, while tourists used the convertible peso, or CUC. It created a strange double economy where locals and visitors often paid completely different prices. Though Cuba has been working on unifying its currency, it's one of those unique quirks that confuses many first-time visitors. Here's another one. Internet in Cuba only became widely available in the mid-2010s. Before that, Cubans shared information offline through something called El Paquete Semanal, or the weekly package. It was basically a giant USB drive passed around every week, loaded with movies, music, news, and even software. Imagine Netflix, YouTube, and Spotify all coming to you through a hard drive. Of course, no talk of Cuba is complete without mentioning those famous classic cars. Because of the US embargo, new cars couldn't be imported for decades. So Cubans kept repairing and repainting old American Chevrolets, Buicks, and Fords from the 1950s. Today, these cars are not just transportation. They're rolling pieces of art, symbols of Cuban resilience, and one of the island's most iconic images. And then there's baseball. Forget football. In Cuba, baseball is king. Introduced in the 19th century, it quickly became the national sport, and Cuban players are considered some of the best in the world. For many Cubans, a baseball game isn't just a pastime. It's a passion, with entire communities gathering to cheer on their local teams. Cuba is also a land of festivals. Beyond Carnival, there's the Havana International Jazz Festival, attracting world-class musicians every year. There's also the Havana Film Festival, celebrating Latin American cinema, and even quirky events like the Festival of Fire in Santiago. No matter the season, there's always music, dance, and celebration somewhere on the island. And let's not forget Cuban cuisine. While food shortages have shaped how Cubans cook, the flavors are still rich and comforting. Dishes like ropa vieja, shredded beef simmered with peppers and tomatoes, or moros y cristianos, a classic mix of black beans and rice, tell stories of Cuba's Spanish and African roots. And of course, there's Cuban coffee. Small, strong, and sweet enough to keep you dancing all night. Cuba is also one of the most environmentally conscious countries in the region. After the collapse of the Soviet Union in the 1990s, Cuba had to reinvent its agriculture. With limited imports, they turned to organic farming and urban gardens. Today, Havana is dotted with small farms where fresh produce grows right in the middle of the city. But perhaps the most remarkable thing about Cuba isn't its history, its cars, or even its beaches. It's its people. Despite economic challenges, Cubans are known for their warmth, creativity, and sense of community. They turn sidewalks into dance floors, rooftops into gathering places, and everyday life into art. Visitors often say it's the human spirit of Cuba that stays with them the longest. So when you think of Cuba, don't just picture cigars or salsa, though they're certainly part of the story. Think of an island where nature and history blend, where cities feel alive with rhythm, and where resilience shines brighter than hardship. Cuba is a place that refuses to be defined by just one thing. It's music and revolution, hardship and joy, beaches and mountains, past and future. It's a land where every street corner has a story, and every beat of the drum reminds you that life goes on, no matter what. And that's the magic of Cuba. This was part 2, Nature, Cities, and Fun Facts of Cuba. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to ChronoGlobe. Because around every corner of the world, there's another story waiting to be told.